second. Try to.
While Reza's getting set up, if you would go to the participants window and make sure your first and last name is updated so that we can get you your participation certificate for your professional development hours. Also, if you have any questions for Reza throughout the presentation, please place them in the chat and we will get to them at the end. Thank you and welcome, MD Yusuf Reza.
Just checking. Can you all hear me well?
Yes, sounds great.
Thank you. Thank you, Courtney. Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank you all for joining me today, this afternoon, with the topic that I'm going to be sharing with you, and I'll be learning from you as well. So that's the purpose. So first of all, I would like to thank the URISA Texas chapter team for giving me this opportunity to talk in front of you in the URISA Texas chapter speaker series on October. So I really appreciated your time, and I would like to say a topic that I have been working since I have been joining with the Harris County Engineering Department. So what I have learned so far, I would like to share with you, and I believe that this is a great opportunity for me as well to learn from you and get connected with you after this presentation, so that those who are involving with this kind of topic on your day-to-day work, I would like to really connect with you all, and then discuss some of the challenges that I have been facing and we have been facing in our county to implement the asset management principles to keep track of all of the infrastructure projects that we have dealing with. So I'll be talking about today asset management and the GIS perspective mostly, because asset management is really a huge and vast thing that I have been learning so far, and but how we can deal with it in the GIS realm of the world, and how we can talk about that, and then so that we have a system in place so that we can streamline the county and the local municipalities, those who are dealing with the asset management stuff. So these are the highlights that we're going to be talking about today. I'll be talking about what is the infrastructure asset management and why we need efficient asset management, and how we can enhance the asset management through a GIS EM integration. So EM is the Enterprise Asset Management. So that stands for EM. So how we can integrate a GIS and EM so that we can be more efficient when we talk about the asset management. And then at the end, I'll talk about the Harris County engineering approaches and what we are doing right now, and what are the challenges and what are the goals that we would like to accomplish. So let's talk about first, real quick, what is the asset management that I understood first when I came working on that, because my background is on the GIS. Last almost 7 years, I did work with an estate agency. They call the Texas Community Watershed Partners. They're part of the Texas A&M Agri-Life Extension Service, a platform, an interactive mapping platform called CHARM. So where I did work as a geospatial analyst, and then later I became the GIS team lead, and then later I became the GIS program manager. So when I came to Harris County Engineering Department, I was tasked to do the asset management, because we really don't have the asset management in the Harris County perspective. So we do have some of the asset data, but if I really talk about that, the asset management principles, we don't have that at that moment. But now we have made an investment to to keep track of all of the infrastructure projects that we have in Harris County, how we can make them more efficient in terms of cost, in terms of operations, in terms of maintenance. So what I learned that asset management focuses on maximizing the value and performance of an organization's assets over its entire life cycle. It involves careful planning and execution to ensure assets are acquired, operated, maintained, renewed, and eventually disposed of in a manner that provides the greatest return on investment and maximize associated risk and cost. The primary aim of asset management is to efficiently fulfill our community's needs while minimizing expenditures. In simply terms, asset management is a systematic strategy for optimizing the allocation of limited resources to achieve specific objectives we often refer to is as the Goldilocks approach to maintenance and operations, where you aim to strike the perfect balance, not overspending needlessly, nor neglecting essential maintenance that could lead to higher costs in the future. So that's probably I mean, if we all agree, then we can probably think about how we can define the asset management. So the adoption of asset management can potentially result in a 20% reduction in maintenance and preservation costs for a public works department. So based on the some research that I found, so that's the number that came from the 20%. But again, if we all agree or disagree, the number can go up and down. But if we have a system in place, we can definitely reduce some cost in maintaining those assets. So therefore, neglecting to implement asset management probably could be a luxury no one can afford. So mostly when we talk about the asset management, especially when we are involved in the local county government, we're talking about the infrastructure asset management. As you can see from the diagram, that is more than a new management uh, buzzword, probably, I would say. There are still many questions about what asset management really means today. And infrastructure asset management is an emerging discipline with the goal of providing more systematic approach to managing infrastructure assets, enhance customer satisfactions, governance and accountability, risk management, financial efficiency, and sustainability. So why we need efficient asset management for us. How can public works or allied departments maintain the functionality of their infrastructure, enhance efficiency, and build trust among citizens? I think we might all agree that the solution lies in integrating asset management into their maintenance, operations, and preservation initiatives. So what are the benefits? First, efficient asset management ensures that assets are in optimal conditions, reducing downtime and service disruptions. This in turn leads to better service quality for customers or stakeholders while simultaneously lowering operational cost. In addition to that, effective asset management supports the long-term sustainability of an organization's infrastructure by extending the lifespan of assets and making informed decisions about renewals and replacements, organizations can minimize waste and resource consumptions. Moreover, efficient asset management is a fundamental element of good business practices for any organizations. It helps organizations maximize their resources, minimize risk, and achieve their financial and operational goals, ultimately contributing to the overall success and profitability of the business. So how we can enhance asset management through GIS and EM integration. So EM again is the enterprise asset management. So because my background is GIS, learning the asset management principle and kind of seeing that how we can integrate together so that we can better address um, uh, our workload, our task, what we are dealing with. So if we talk about in the 2 days we call so-called the quote unquote the digital era, Organizations aiming to establish effective asset management practices that can explore numerous alternatives. One such example is the use of GIS, which have emerged as robust tools for managing spatial data. These systems empower organizations to visually interpret, assess, and make informed decisions based on the geographic information. Numerous public works entities have committed substantial resources to acquire and implement GIS for the purpose of monitoring spatial assets, preserving historical records, and ensuring an up-to-date inventory of their assets. The data derived from GIS represents an indispensable resource for these asset management organizations. So let's talk about what are the options that we have if we really talk about the GIS and EM integration. So the first option, we can embed EM into GIS. So we have the GIS, many organizations, we have the ArcGIS enterprise suites and whatnot. And we can embed the enterprise asset management into GIS. But thing is that it can deal only spatial data. But the other piece is that we have the other options. We do integrated enterprise asset management with GIS data, because that will allow us to talk about spatial and non-spatial asset data that the communities are dealing with. Uh, so the reason is that why we have these two options that I have learned. So if we really talk about the GIS, the reality is that it's impossible to extract a holistic asset management approach from GIS software alone, regardless of whether your organization's focus is on utilities, park, recreation, roads, bridge, signs, sidewalks, guardrails, you name it. Um, and for the long-term asset management plan is a strong and comprehensive integration between EM and GIS. The connection between GIS data and the enterprise asset management system is both essential and integrate. Many organizations that heavily rely on their assets may think that incorporating an EM system directly into their existing GIS system is the ideal approach for asset management. However, this approach raises a significant concern how to handle assets that are not tied to spatial data. Instead of integration of EM system within a GIS system, organizations should seek an EM solution that seamlessly integrates with their GIS data. This approach empowers, I believe, that organizations to monitor all its assets comprehensively, not only those with spatial attributes, ensuring that your organization can efficiently manage all its assets with the same level of detailed lifecycle information, while also leveraging the spatial capabilities of your GIS that can significantly enhance your organization's performance and maximize the effectiveness of your asset management plan. So as I mentioned, that the option two probably have more benefits than option one, but we can do depending on which way we would like to, because not every community is probably going to have that opportunity to invest on an enterprise asset management tools or platforms. So the benefits that I mentioned, so track all assets, it either is spatial or non-spatial, in-depth life cycle details, because they have the custom built and out of the box uh, the tools that built in so that that can leverage the spatial functionality with the GIS. And once you leverage the GIS with them, so you can actually utilize the GIS functionality to forecast what are the things that are associated with the asset management. So, and then definitely we talk about the effective asset management, and definitely another piece is that optimized asset management plan. There might be some other options and benefits there, and there might be some trade-offs, and there might be some pros and cons. But if you look at it and if you weigh them, then probably there are more benefits, especially when you have a large municipalities or counties that you have a lot of assets, and how you deal it so that you can streamline the whole work process into the system. So let's talk about our Harris County perspective and in terms of infrastructure asset management. So the county is using the GIS-based asset management software to retire older multiple systems and user interfaces to increase efficiencies through process improvements. As you can see, we have a legacy system. We're using the older software systems, multiple websites, spreadsheets, printed work orders, so many things. So our county leadership decided to invest and in EM, and managing the infrastructure operations and maintenance efforts with the printed work with the system that we have running right now, so that we can get rid of our legacy system and we migrate into an integrated EM with the GIS, and that will allow us to improve our uh, operational systems and then maintenance, so that we can enhance our maintenance capacity for all of the assets that we're keeping track of it. When we say the integrated EM with GIS, you're seeing that. I will talk about that in a moment, but you can see that it's a kind of seamless integration between the platforms with the GIS, and you can utilize different ways to integrate the asset data into your EM, so that you can capitalize and leverage whatever you'd like to do that. So, okay, I know, just to give you an idea who's Harris County, who we are. Uh, I think the third largest county in the nations, and I'll give you some quick facts so that if you know what we are talking about, and we are in the process of extracting a lot of more infrastructure assets down the road. So the county is using a GIS-based asset management software, as I mentioned that, and 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 the software, when the software is implemented, county crews and the contractors will have the ability to complete maintenance work orders via the applications, even on their mobile devices. So we're kind of increasing the efficiency by going into a platform where allow us to do all of those things in one shop. As you can see that the Harris County, we have like more than uh, 7,200 plus miles of roads if we talk about the road as our infrastructure assets. And you can look at the numbers that we have 956 bridges. And I'll show you in a moment that we're going to be extracting more other assets that we would like to keep track of and maintain them, so that we can talk about their life cycles down the road. And those are the facts that we have to deal with moving forward when we bring them into asset management platform together. So it's exciting time for us because we Harris County invested in an innovative approach to modern infrastructure management technology. The county has invested the software called Cartograph. Right now, the software is purchased by OpenGov. So they call the OpenGov Asset Management Suite, which is designed to manage a wide range of infrastructure assets in a data-driven manner. So we're going to be working on that. So when we started with this EM system, with the Harris County, we decided to go with the have 7 instances for us. As you can see that we have 4 precincts, so precinct 1 to precinct 4. So they're going to have their own instances, and engineering, we're going to have our own instance, and we have 2 other instances. One is the Harris County Flood Control District, and another one is the Harris County Toll Road Authority. As you can see from the diagram, that the engineering will going to be the central hub of all of the instances, because we're going to be the central hub of all the data, and the precincts will going to be maintaining those assets. And so that if we need to look for some of the asset conditioning stuff, so we can compile the data from all instances, and then engineering will going to produce that the asset conditioning reports and whatnot. So that's the purpose, and that's the goal. So right now we are really instance to instance, if we talk about the instance to instance, we are really talking about the engineering with the precincts and how that will going to work for us. So as you can see that instance to instance spatial and non-spatial asset data integrations, either using or I mean, they have 4 different ways that you can do, but we can utilize one of the ArcGIS platforms, and then we can do back and forth export and import, and then at some point we have to think about what would be the data management strategy for us. And we have some of the team that, for example, we have the asset log group. They really work on the road log. We have a unique road log in Harris County that they have been working on it, and it needs integration between precincts and engineering. So we have some workflows that in between that we need to work. So we have asset log group, we have acceptance group, and then we have a plating. So the process starts with the plating group, and then when it becomes a part of the acceptance, they do the inspections, make sure everything is okay. After the final inspections, now it becomes an asset, and then asset log group works behind the scene to become that road or segments become a road log for the Harris County. So those kind of workflow integration between engineering and the precinct instances, and then inspection activities, and then some of the workflows that we need to do, the automations. And as the EM does provides the reporting out of the box, and you can customize their reporting. So we have that options. You can also do webhooking with some other APIs and platforms like Power BI. You can utilize those and some other as well. So you can do the data analytics and you can do the visualizations, whatever way you would like to do that. So right now we're working on that as well. And I'll show you some of them, and make sure that we have a good data, because good data is a commodity, and we need to maintain the good data. How we do QA QC, that's a part of that process as well. And the one that we have, the EM, it has the out of the box asset condition managers, but we can customize, we can tweak it, and at the end we can run a scenario builder based on the prediction curves of all the asset that we have. So we can run a scenario of 5 years, 10 years, and we can assign the cost. And then we can also do the public damage assessment through the EM, so that we can look at it during the disaster. What are the assets are get impacted, and they have out of the box the FEMA reporting, so that all the fields and attributes are associated with that, and you can tie them so that you can automate that as well, and so that you can generate a FEMA reporting after the disaster, and that way you can submit your county or your municipalities or communities can submit those stuff. And then we're still working on different phases of implementation, so we'll talk about that. So what are the current and future the GIS based asset data that we have, and we are also going to extract more GIS based asset data. Right now we have roads, bridges, parks, we have I would say facilities, and then we have culverts, but we are also we'll be working with a vendor very soon to extract all of other assets that I have listed, but the list is more than that actually. As you can see, signs, sidewalks, guardrails, bus shelters, pets, street light, fire hydrants, and so on. So so that we have all the data, and we're going to be importing that data into our EM platform, and then through the GIS integration, so that we can have the data in the software, so that we can see them. They can do the maintenance and activities and everything, but at the same time, we can extract that data into GIS and push that data into GIS and other internal websites, so that we can utilize other cool visualizations for our executive leadership. So just to kind of give you a quick way, what are the options that you have through the EM? So they have 4 different options that we got to know when we started with that. A complete deployment of asset management, they call the classic versions right now what we are using, and then ArcGIS involves several server and workstation machines. So as you can see from the diagram, that either you can do the ArcGIS online, and then you can actually get connected with your EM suite, and then you can avoid some of the issue with the firewall. But if you go with the ArcGIS server, so there are some options, and we can talk about that as well. So this is the portal for ArcGIS. And then you can also do by the hosted deployment. But right now, currently, we started with ArcGIS Online for us because we have less asset data. As we're going to be extracting more asset data, collecting more asset data, we're going to be using the portal for ArcGIS, so that way it will going to be more seamless integration for us, so that we can manage and maintain the data, and we can do QA/QC on our end, because we have a GIS team that we're going to be working with the asset management team. So how we can integrate those pieces. So we decided that probably, and also if we do ArcGIS online, probably at some point we're going to be consuming a lot of credit hours, which we don't like to do that. That is going to cost a lot of money, and so we're going to be working with our universal service to figure it out, the portal for ArcGIS, and how that could work for us down the road. So what are the key phases of the GIS integrations that we are talking about? So if we do the GIS integration with the EM, so we have the compatibility, easily create, edit, and delete GIS associations, utilize multiple ArcGIS servers, accurately manage ArcGIS server connections and data synchronizations. So the asset management and the Azure platform work seamlessly together to ensure the integrity and compatibility of our work assets and the data. And then if we talk about the workflow, so which help us, because and now you're talking about more accuracy and efficiency from your location perspective, because if you need to send out the crew members and then on field, then you have that the mobile workflows that you can utilize, and then you can record the attributes that you need, and then perform inspections and schedule future tasks. So you can seamlessly integrate those events, which we are in the process of right now, training our crew members, our inspectors, so that they can utilize that as well. And as I mentioned, that the data sync is very seamlessly. You can do either one-way integration from the platform to GIS, or you can do two-way integration, so that whatever you're doing in the software, that will going to push to the GIS platform that you're using, and then whatever you edit on the GIS data. So every night, it is right now the way we set it up is the two-way integration. I'll talk about that in a moment. So the reason that we believe that now we are going into a phase where we would like to enhance our asset management task, work orders, and whatnot through the GIS EM integration is that, because as I mentioned, that as you can see, the way it says the two-way integrations, the and then visualize the real-time work data in ArcGIS. You're doing the inspections on the fields, and when you update, you can either do offline or you do online. So you can utilize both of the options, and then when you are online, you can just one click away, and then you push it, and then you can see the data on the GIS sites. And same again, the integrate web maps if you need like to, because some of the softwares that we have learned that will not allow you to treat as reference layers like the way we do in GIS. You can turn them on and off to see those reference layers, but here you can integrate web maps to provide the context of the data that you are working on, the asset data that you are working on. And definitely there are other options, but I just listed 5 items here. One of the other item is that ArcGIS dashboards and insights. So visualize the informations that you have in spatially on your other side of the world, and then how you'd like to filter them out, how you like to show them out, and how you like to analyze them out. So that's your part. So that have the capacity and the capability to do that. The next one, really like to talk about that because the reason that I've been really liking it is that three reasons. Because one is the mobile workflows, the utilization of GIS integrated asset management software that facilitates workflows both within the office settings and in the field, reduces the risk of data discrepancies. Simultaneously, it enhances the capacity to generate reports regarding asset status and aids in the formulation of capital investment strategies. This enables every department to determine its unique workflow and configuration needs, catering to specific requirements based on departmental demands. The next one is on-demand GIS data. Synchronizing the data between EM and GIS applications optimizes the strength of each system. It excels in managing the complete life cycle of various assets. It is tailored to assist organizations of all scales in the efficient and cost-effective management and maintenance of assets encompassing fleets, facilities, consumables, equipment, property, and infrastructure, and others as well. And enhancing data visibility. Considering the growing demand for greater organizational transparency, it is logical to invest in a system that can be uniformly applied across the entire organization to simplify and expedite data collection and reporting in response to citizen requests. So through a proficient system, you can effortlessly disseminate reports, construct dashboards, make work order and service requests data accessible to citizens via maps sharing informations. So right now I'll show you very quickly because we're really on working on right now we're really working on those workflows. So as I mentioned that the asset log group is the first group and our goal is to streamline their current process. As you can see, I think it's not readable, but just to give you an idea, they have really a long process to go from A to Z. And then it has so many steps, so many websites, so many platforms, spreadsheets, and so on. So we would like to get rid of this so that we can streamline the whole process. So first we started with the data. What is their ER diagram? How many attributes? Is it a one-to-many or is it a many-to-many relationship? So we investigated that one and then we came up with the data that we really need because historically we have so many attribute fields. Really, do we really need all of them? I'm just giving you one example for one asset. So we're going to kind of keep repeat some of the other assets that we do have. So, and then now in the system that updates the roadblock assets, into three key tasks: delineate, designate, change, and then delete. So that how we can do, as you can see, so the group will going to create task in the platform, and then the precincts are going to review and approve those tasks because they're those tasks I'm talking about related to the asset. Because you are adding a new assets, and then we'll start it with the task because it requires some approval in our system, so that when precincts are going to approve those assets, okay, now it become a part of the assets. So that process right now we are working in the platform so that we can see that seamless integration. Once they complete the task, now that we're going to utilize the automation tools to import that data from task to a GIS record. So that's one way. And right now, as you can see, that the workflow as of we did this morning about this one. So, and we're updating constantly, but we're still working on it, how we can automate, how we can streamline, and some of the steps that we can get rid of it. As you can see, there are 4 big steps that we'll be working on, and final is the task completion. So this is another group. We just started with them. So they have really, again, several process, several steps, several involvement with other websites and platforms. So we're right now in planning phase. What are the things that we can do? What are the things that can support by the software that we have, and what we cannot do? So right now we're working on that as well. Asset condition manager. which we are also working on to define the pavement activity so that we can standardize for across the Harris County, depending on the geotechnical perspective of the county where we sit on. So that allows us, the asset condition manager allows user to create, update, delete, duplicate, and maintain prediction groups, and condition categories. All of these are required to calculate asset estimate conditions. Condition categories are characteristics observed during inspections and can be used to estimate asset deterioration. In other words, these are the categories that we inspect for and what we inspect. Um, the weight indicates the impact of the condition category. So those are the kind of thing that we're going to be working on, because once we have the pavement conditions survey data from the vendor that will be working very soon, so that we can look at all of the pavement prediction curve and see what would be the life cycle of that asset. So we can assign, that's an example of the pavement condition, but we can do eventually with other assets as well. So I'm almost there. Phases of implementations, how we would like to do that. So it's a huge system. There are so many unknowns. Definitely, there are some challenges because we are transitioning from a legacy system to a modern system where we would like to do the integration with the EM and the GIS. So we need some internal trainings, but before that, we need to configure our system, and then we need to ingest the asset data, the data that we have, make sure we have a good data, and then we integrate within the EM system, and then identify of the role, because we are talking about probably 300 to 400 or 500 users of all the asset, crew members, managers, and other GIS folks, and so on. So how do we assign the roles? How do we identify different kind of use cases, and how they're going to access to the systems, so that we can maintain the different layers of the system and manage efficiently, and then set up, if we need to customize some role based on the users, we can do that and identify some champions from each group, and then introduce day-to-day operations. And then it's going to be a planning and preparation phase. There will be a pilot study that we would like to test out, because all of the instances that you have seen, so we have a testing side, we have a production side. When we go live with all the group, then we're going to be working in production side. But if you need to test out something, a task, or workflow, or inspector crew members work orders, we can first go into the testing environment and test them out. And once we do a UT, user acceptance testing, and we are satisfied with the UAT, what we did, then we can move into the production side. So that's what we're going to do, and then roll out. And eventually, it will going to require a lot of trainings for the staffs that we have, those who are going to be involved within the asset management system, and then slowly implement activity workflows across the organizations. And finally, prepare for launch when we are get ready to go live, so we can establish those responsibilities, and then finally we can roll out with the stuff that we have, and then go live. So right now, I believe this is the second last slide from my side. So the phase one, the key items, we are transforming current workflows into Cartograph, which is the planning group acceptance and asset log, and then current asset data and workflow integration. So we did already have an RFP for pavement condition survey and asset data extractions. Very soon it's going to be rewarded, and it has to approve from our code in order to get that vendor to start working on that, and data collections. GIS data integrity standards across the instances, and then asset condition manager and the scenario builder setup, and definitely setting up those automations so that we can streamline our workflow and processes, and definitely training as in for the internal staff. And the phase two, we're going to be including real property division and disaster recovery. And then we're gonna set up some protocols how we do updates our asset data and the integration, so that we all stay on the same page. At the end of my slide, I would like to thank our Harris County leadership, our engineering department leadership for bringing this opportunity for the county so that we can go into a modern infrastructure uh, platforms and utilize that platforms and leverage so that we can be more efficient and streamline our workflows within the county environment. Just to let you know, just last week we have posted a job opening for our asset management team, which is the cartograph administrator. It doesn't have to be a cartograph administrator. If you go there, you can find that it's an asset management administrator. If you are passionate and really looking for or someone looking for opportunities to work on that, please pause this one. And in the near future, we're going to have more positions opening in the Harris County Engineering Department Asset Management team side. Please keep an eye on that. So on that note, I would like to thank you all for listening me and hearing me. But again, as I started very beginning, that this is an opportunity for me to get connect with you all. You are amazing people, and then and in the down the road, when I have the opportunity to, we can get connected and then share with each other what are the pain points, what are the challenges, so that we can overcome and become successful what we are doing. So thank you once again. I would like to hand over to Courtney, right?
Thank you, Reza. Oh my gosh, everybody, thank you so much. There's a couple of questions, and they were more about platforms. So tell me if you have any experience. Anthony Archer asked, is anyone using this system with Workday platform? Did you consider Workday?
We talk about the workday, but we haven't gone that so far yet at this moment. As I say that we invested purchasing this EM system last year, and beginning of this year we are really functioning into it. So we are talking through so many things, because Harris County Engineering, we have some of the internal websites how we can integrate that, and at some point the workday came in, and I know you might have some questions about the service now, the 311 call. So Harris County is also working on the other side to integrate the service now 311 into the software, the OpenGov system that we have, so that that can be a part of the system. So we are still working on that.
And then somebody was also asking about using IBM Maximo, and that they were trying to move towards Workday. Any insight on maybe using Maximo or in tandem with ArcFM? There's a couple people asking about, or sharing some ideas in the chat.
Okay. Not at this moment. We have been meeting with some of the other folks, some of the other organizations, but not that the one that you mentioned about the IBM Maximo. I haven't heard anything about that integrating with this one, but I would like to explore and see what are the functionalities of the Maximo. If there is a connections down the road, then we'll think about it.
Excellent. So we also have Nathan Hazelwood from Auckland, New Zealand. The task of assessing the requirements for asset management is often more complicated than people can imagine. Compared to a lot of other GIS data, objects, features like address points or ecological areas, some types, components, and combinations of assets are much more complex than that. If you think about something like a building as an asset, then you might think that it has construction material or a cladding type. And to further this, sometimes an original brick building might extend later with a fiber cement cladding. And then is that considered a new separate building, or is that part of the original building object? What approach do you typically take in these type of situations?
Wow, that's a really good question. But if I break it out, uh, that question into two parts. The first part I would like to answer in a different way, and then I will go into the second part. So the first part, I totally agree. It's really a complex. It's not like a straightforward GIS the way we do the GIS. Folks deal with it. It has asset management has its own principles, but when we do integrate with GIS, I think there are some benefits. But the platform that we are using right now, it has really an out of the box cool system they call the component container relationship. So when you have in one asset, for example, you have a building, an asset as a facility or a property, it has many other components that they're also part of the assets. So like electric conduits, water pipes, you can name it. But when you look about you, if that's a parent record sets in your system, so you can name all other child record sets that could be an other sub assets, and through the component container relationship, you can actually tie them. And when you go actually do that, so when you have an addition to the new assets or sub assets in your systems, you don't need to you don't need to uh, uh, you need to like you can actually merge them in a way so that you can see that the new addition is now become a part of the old assets through the component container relationship.
Excellent. So it's not just that one-to-one, it can be a one-to-many.
One to many.
Yeah. So we have a few more questions that have come in. Um, Richard asks, I noticed your organization uses Cartograph for asset management. Was this the ideal option for your organization, or how did you folks arrive at that decision? Were there other available options you considered, especially regarding the OMS for asset management? What would you recommend?
Oh, thank you. Good question. It was before me. I was hired to lead the cartograph from the Harris County engineering side because of my GIS background, and I would the thing is that I don't know the history, so I would like to put it that way. I don't know the history why the cartograph has been chosen by our executive leadership in the county. There might be reasons, but I know that there are some. When I went to last year Esri user conference, I saw cartograph, OpenGov, I saw CityWorks, I saw Trimble, like so many other. So that's why during my presentation, I tried not to say about a single platform because my intention was to share what are the challenges and what are the ideas that we are really working on to improve and streamline our work process, and so that we can improve our efficiency in asset management side. But as I said, that to answer your questions, I don't have that history, but I came to join and then work on that. So and what I have seen from that system, the platform, the suite, so that's what we are trying to accommodate what we need. What are the other things that we can't accomplish through that? So what are the other way that we can do? So that's why I talked about some of the webhooks that we can utilize to do that.
Great. I'm going to kind of combine two questions here. John Kilgore asked, in your data collection efforts, how has Harris County integrated ADA requirements within data structure? And also to combine with that, TD asked, do you work with street precincts or like uh, groups like police and fire? So I think that it's an interesting kind of combined two separate questions, but kind of combined because ADA does have its own requirements, and so does police and fire.
That's a very good question. So if you go online, I believe the RFP should be still out there, but I don't know. I can double check. But we did mention about those standards so that when we're going to be collecting those data by whoever the vendor will going to be rewarded, but so that so that they follow those protocols and standards, whatever the standards. So we did set it up there and make sure that they follow those standards when they will be collecting those data sets.
Excellent. And this looks like the last question at the moment. What is the overall timeline for implementation? Do Harris County have current infrastructure assets conditions for feed into EAM?
It is. Okay, thank you so much for that question. As I said that we are really large county, third largest county. We have so many assets and we have a system in place. So we are working diligently so that we are working with our collaborators, our partners, and so that make sure that so we don't we I mean the way we started with we don't like to eat everything at the same time so that we cannot be a successful one. Rather, we started step one at a time. So we are, as I said, that we have the phases of implementation, so phase one and the phase two. So, so we're kind of going with that strategy so that we know what we do, but at the same time, we are also working with the data integration so that make sure we cleaned our data, make sure we have a really good data because like the data not always been a good, and then that's a challenge for many organizations. How you clean that, how you have a nice data, so that all the data will going to be integrated in this. So that's two big area that we are really working on. One is the data part, and the one other other piece is the implementation of the different workflows and the phases, so that we all bring everyone into one shop so that they can see data, where the data is going, what are the fields are populating, who needs to see it, who doesn't need to see it, those kind of stuff. So we're figuring out those stuffs. But goal is to go. There is internal milestones that I don't like to share here, but that's the strategy that we would like to go with.
Great. We had three more questions pop up. Ian Patrick asks, does Cartograph integrate with an existing OpenGov system? We use OpenGov and they had mentioned Cartograph, but it wasn't fully integrated yet. Have you heard anything about that?
That's a really good question. Thank you for asking that question. So as I mentioned, if you can recall in the acceptance workflow, so we already Harris County Engineering, we have the permitting, e-permitting, we call the e-permitting. I know the OpenGov has a permitting module. So for the workflow, we would like to integrate some of the OpenGov module with the Cartograph. And that will allow us to streamline some of the process and reduce some of the cost, and we can be more efficient if we do that. So we are in the process of discussing those elements right now.
Excellent. Sarah asks, how do you ensure compatibility between Cartograph and the GIS? The engineering group in my organization utilizes Cartograph. They were unable to give me direct access, meaning set up a data connection in our GIS database to some of the information because of a mismatch between the field types and links. Have you ran into that?
Wow, all of the cool questions. I like it. So just to give you an example, right now, last 3-4 weeks, we have been dealing system. Exactly, Sarah, what you have been dealing with. So we have a SDE that we update the road log data to push to an internal websites. But when we acquire the data from another applications, which is the Microsoft CRM applications that host all of our road log data, and that's how I was showing the year diagram of one-to-many relationship, one-to-one relationship with all the attributes by road log. So we gather that data in another set because we need more attributes, but the GIS data, we don't have enough attributes. So we have been, that's a static data layer that we have been using for testing right now, and eventually go live with the production. So that at some point we don't have to go into the CRM so that everything will going to be in Cartograph. But the issue that came up because that's a static layer, and some of the users say that, hey, the internal website's showing this update, but it's not showing in Cartograph. So then we decided that, okay, we're going to do an override of that data. But when we did that, that the data didn't match with this one versus that one. And for some reason, Cartograph was behaving weird, and it's like all the IDs are gone, all the everything is gone. So we had to literally sit down and work through it. So I think the best way that we came up with that, we had to match all the GIS and change that GIS data schema to match with the Cartograph ArcGIS online schema, so that when we update that data, it pushes over to here to there, and that's how we do it. So yeah, that's a one thing. And for you to give access, I think you can change the settings on the ArcGIS. I don't know which one that you're using, ArcGIS Online or something else. You can definitely change the settings, and then based on the settings, you will have access to change the schema as well, depending on what role you are.
Well, thank you, Reza, for an excellent presentation on asset management. We really appreciate you here at URISA, Texas. Thank you so much for having a great presentation on Halloween edition of Speaker Series.
Happy Halloween to everyone. Thank you so much for inviting me and having me here. I appreciate it.